Giza were not paid in gold. They were in beer. Roughly 4 to 5 liters of it every single day, handed out like a paycheck to men who spent their lives hauling limestone blocks under a sun that could kill you if you stopped moving. That single fact should stop you cold because it means one of the most awe-inspiring structures on Earth. A monument that has survived 4,500 years was built on the fuel of something we now associate with a Friday night. But that's not even where this story starts. That's not even close to the beginning. Rewind past Egypt, past the pyramids, past the first cities, past the first farms. Go back roughly 10 million years to a forest floor somewhere in what is now East Africa. Long before a single human being existed to remember it, a piece of fruit had fallen from a tree and been left there too long.
Drawn by the
Nobody
potent aroma,
to eat
the
it.
lemur cautiously
Days
investigates the fallen
The
fruit.
sugars inside
A
began
single
to break
sniff
down,
will determine
wild
if it is
yeast
safe to
drifted
eat.
onto the skin, and a chemical process quietly turned that fruit into something new. It was no longer just food. In the smallest, crudest sense, it had become alcohol. And when a primate finally wandered over and ate it, something happened that would end up shaping the destiny of a species that hadn't evolved yet. That primate, different, looser, pulled toward it in a way it couldn't explain and didn't need to. It just wanted more. Here is the question that should genuinely unsettle you. What if that pull never went away? What if the same chemical craving that hit a nameless primate on a forest floor 10 million years ago is the same one that helped drag our species out of caves, into farming, into cities, into civilization itself? That is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a real ongoing argument among archaeologists, and the evidence for it is stranger, older, and far more disruptive than most people realize. To understand how something as simple as rotting fruit could end up shaping human evolution, picture the world our primate ancestors actually lived in. The canopy overhead was crowded and competitive, thick with the smell of damp leaves, overripe fruit, and rot. Food never guaranteed. Fruit-eating primates spent their days scanning branches and the forest floor for anything edible, racing insects, birds, and rival mammals to the same limited scraps of sugar and calories. In that world,
This harvest
speed
was
mattered
good.
more than caution.
Drink deeply, my
The ability
friends.
to detect ripe,
May the next one
calorie-dense
be
fruit
even better.
before something else got to it first was not a luxury. It was survival, and it left no room for hesitation. This is where the science becomes genuinely fascinating. In 2014, biologist Robert Dudley of the University of California, Berkeley, proposed an idea that came to be known as the drunken monkey hypothesis. His reasoning was straightforward. Overripe fruit, the kind already fermenting on the forest floor, gives off a strong smell of ethanol. That smell acts like a signal flare, announcing that sugar-rich food is nearby. Primates who could detect and were attracted to that ethanol scent had an advantage. They found calories faster than their rivals. Over enormous stretches of evolutionary time, natural selection didn't just tolerate this attraction to alcohol, it reinforced it. Dudley's theory doesn't claim our ancestors
The harvest
were
is
routinely drunk
bountiful,
in the trees.
the spirits
Concentrations
are
of alcohol in
pleased.
fermenting
We
fruit are
dance
low,
until
usually
the
less than a few
dawn.
percent.
The
But it
fire
does suggest
gives
that a
us
taste
strength.
and a
The
biological
wind
readiness,
brings the
for ethanol was
harvest.
built into primates long before humans existed at all. This is a genuinely debated area of science, and not every researcher agrees on how strong the evolutionary pressure really was.
Hail
But the
the
underlying
flame!
chemistry and the
Hail
genetic
the
evidence for
night!
it are difficult
May
to
the
dismiss.
spirits
But
grant
smell
us
alone doesn't
might.
explain why our bodies handle alcohol so well today. And this is where the genetic evidence becomes genuinely startling. Researchers studying the ADH4 gene, which produces an enzyme that helps metabolize ethanol, found that a specific mutation appeared in the primate lineage roughly 10 million years ago. That mutation made the enzyme 40 times more efficient at breaking down alcohol. 10 million years ago is also roughly when the common
The time
ancestors
lapse
of
reveals
humans,
the rapid activity
chimpanzees,
within the
and
clay jar.
gorillas started spending
As the
more
grains
time
break
on the
down,
ground,
a steady
closer to
stream of
fallen,
carbon dioxide
fermenting fruit, rather than staying up in the canopy. The timing is not a coincidence historians simply invented. It's written into our own biology. Long before there were caves, tools, or language, evolution had already built the machinery to process alcohol efficiently into our bodies. So the real question was never whether we could handle it. It was when someone would stop waiting for nature to make it and start making it themselves. For millions of years after that genetic shift, Almost nothing changed except which species was doing the eating. Early hominins came and went. Tools were invented. Fire was tamed. But the drink itself stayed something you stumbled onto, never something you built. Then, in a limestone cave on a hillside in the Middle East, that changed, and the date attached to it would force archaeologists to tear up a timeline they had trusted for decades. In 2018, a team of archaeologists working at
powerful
Raqefet
contrast.
Cave near Haifa
The
in
ancient,
modern-day Israel
murky waters of the
made a
Nile
discovery that
against the
upended
promise of
everything
pure,
historians thought
golden
they knew.
refreshment.
The cave had been used around 13,000 years ago by a hunter-gatherer culture known as the Natufians. Carved directly into the cool limestone bedrock
Receive
of the
this
cave
cool
floor
water,
were
Osiris,
mortars,
that your car
stone
may be
depressions worn
refreshed.
smooth by generations
May you
of
grant
grinding
life and
processing
prosperity
food.
to the two lands.
When researchers scraped out the microscopic residue trapped inside those mortars, they found starch granules consistent with wheat and barley that had been deliberately soaked, allowed to germinate, and left in the dark to ferment. In plain terms, they had found beer. Not an accident, not spoiled grain gone wrong in storage, but a beverage someone had intentionally, patiently produced. Here is where the story gets genuinely disruptive to what historians long believed. The Natufians were not farmers. They had not domesticated wheat or barley. They were still hunting animals and gathering wild grain by hand, moving with the seasons rather than settling permanently. For decades, the accepted narrative in archaeology went like this. Humans first learned to farm, then built permanent villages, and only after